There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over. Blood is running, heart is pumping as the battle gets closer. They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming out, we can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, rocking our bodies, standing on top like a champion. Keep your silver, give me that gold. You'll remember when I say we can be heroes everywhere we go. Keeping us down is impossible, 'cause we're unstoppable. Oh, we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. Oh, we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. We are one, want the shore, all united, and want some more. Oh, you make me. Oh, you make me. We are one, want the shore, all united, and need some more. Oh, you make me.
Grew up in Waldock, New Jersey, and ever since I was young, I just knew I loved the sport. My father always had me on skates. He was not a hockey guy, and it was just, he was a fan of the sport. And I remember having my first pair of skates. I guess I was probably 5 or 6 years old. There's a picture of me kind of holding a pair of skates. And I started skating at Sportorama, where a lot of guys in northern New Jersey skated, and did some clinics and some house leagues, and then ultimately just kind of got involved playing club hockey.
The young hockey player was quickly taking to the game, inspired by a future Hall of Famer from across the Hudson River.
Well, that was the time when the Islanders were in their drive of their Stanley Cup. So Mike Bossy was the best. I always wore 22 because I loved the goal scorers, and he was one of those guys that could score. And even to this day, still known as one of the very best goal scorers out there.
After flourishing into a highly touted club hockey player, Toskos began to explore the idea of leaving his hometown high school in search of better hockey.
Well, I was playing club hockey with a couple of guys who went to Don Bosco, and I didn't go my freshman year. I was at Waldock High School my freshman year. I was playing club hockey with the Rambo Saints at the time, and a couple of my friends were at Don Bosco, and they were asking me to come over and over and over again. So I transferred in my sophomore year. I spoke to the coach, and I went up and visited the school, and I really liked what the school had to offer as a school. And then ultimately I liked the coach in the hockey program, and that's kind of what brought me up to Bosco.
He never showed up from the first day on campus and acted like I'm special, I'm here, I'm the savior, nothing. He always acted like one of the guys.
It was interesting at first because everybody knew who he was, knew how good he was, but he was extremely humble. When he came in too, there was a group of freshmen, it was about 4 or 5 freshmen that came in that were really good, just a little bit younger. And I think even as like a sophomore, his first year, they all knew him, they all knew who he was, and he kind of took them under his wing. So he had a leadership role really from day one, and he hadn't even really played a game yet.
Arriving for the 1991-92 season, he had an immediate impact on the ice. The combination of speed and skill made him a threat every shift. Toskos scored 40 or more goals in each of his first 2 seasons and was given an unprecedented honor by his coach.
He was such a leader that his junior year, which is unheard of in high school sports for the most part, I made him captain junior year before the season started.
I played against Greg. We were the same age. He went to Don Bosco, I went to St. Joe's. He was an offensive player. I was a defenseman, so I was matched up against him quite a few times. He was a skilled offensive player. We had to be aware of when he was on the ice. He was their main threat, so we kind of had to try to focus on him and kind of shut him down. And as being a defenseman, I look forward to those opportunities to play against him.
With expectations for his senior season sky high, Toskos is faced with the first difficult decision of his life.
In the summer before my senior year, so I was being asked at the time, prep schools had a lot more influence than they do today in the hockey world. And a lot of the kids, if you wanted to advance your career, you kind of had to go to a prep school. The junior hockey today is much different than it was back then. So a lot of schools were asking me to leave early, repeat my junior year, and then go on to college beyond that.
It was the only talk after we lost our last game junior year is, wow, where are we going to be if Greg leaves? And I remember Coach Carroll saying, don't worry, I'll convince him.
I actually went on a campaign to convince his father and him to stay. I basically wrote a 2-page business plan. We put together a whole proposal, a business plan on things we would do if he stayed to help him develop as a player, help him develop as a person just as importantly, and help bring recognition to him in the program.
Sat down with me and my father at dinner, and he laid out a plan for senior year, and he said, look, you want to graduate with your friends, you want to graduate in the school that you love. You've had 2 fantastic seasons, but this is really something that you can make an impact on. And we talked about that. We talked about setting goals, and it was kind of like the first significant influential meeting I had. And it wasn't because I haven't had meetings with coaches before. I had, right? They were recruiting me to go to other places, but this was my own coach talking to me about what the potential could be for our team and for us as a group. And that was really important.
Returning for his senior year, Toskos and the Ironmen have only one goal: to win the school's first state championship.
I think we played Montclair the first game of the year, and Montclair had knocked us out in the playoffs the year before in overtime, and we rolled them. I mean, we won like 10-2, and all of a sudden the camaraderie and the feeling on that team was just something else, and it just fed in throughout the whole year.
There was no doubt at the end of that first game, we definitely thought, okay, wow, we know what we can do.
The Ironmen are hoping their good fortune will endure throughout the state hockey tournament. If that's to be the case, the play of senior Greg Toskos will be paramount. Toskos has led Don Bosco in scoring the past 2 seasons and continues to do so this year, and he has consistently been among the leaders in the state.
Following a dominant regular season, the Ironmen entered the state tournament as a number 3 seed and faced a familiar foe in the semifinal.
The 4 teams that were left, it was us, Seton Hall, Del Barton, and CBA. And we drew Seton Hall in the semifinals. And Seton Hall was the team that beat us for our first loss of the year. We played really well in that semifinal game. It was a tough physical game. I remember it really well. So going into the finals, we played CBA, who we beat during the regular season. And I just, I think we almost looked at it as we had beaten them. It was a more favorable matchup given that Del Barton had beaten us earlier in the year in a regular season game. So I almost think maybe we looked at it the wrong way going in.
I think after the game, the thing that I focused on the most, to sound a little corny, is I told them all I would never forget them, that I loved them, that I loved what they did for me. That'll never change. I loved how hard they worked, and you're gonna learn from this and you're gonna build, and you should walk out of here with your head held so high because you had the greatest season in the history of Don Bosco hockey, and that'll never change. And I tried to be amazingly positive.
Tough to lose, I gotta tell you, and it probably lasted until March 4th of this year.
Lost in the heartbreak from the state finals defeat was that Toskos had put together the finest season in school history, scoring 79 points and being named State Player of the Year. For his career, Toskos totaled 229 points in just 3 seasons. The loss to CBA in the state final was a devastating one. No one knew then that it would become a driving force for the program 25 years later.
So I went through, I did a postgraduate year at Canterbury. As I mentioned earlier, we kind of had to do a prep school year. Nowadays, it's the junior hockey. Some really good visits. I had visits at some Division I schools, some visits at Division III schools. And in the end, what drew me to Babson was the business education that they had. Babson is the top entrepreneurial business studies school in the country. I went up for a visit. I loved the school. Really liked the coaching staff, rink on campus, great locker room, small school, something that I could do well in. And play right away and be a part of the team. The hockey's very good. Top 10, top 15 in the country year after year.
Toskos finished his career at Babson with 43 points and a lifetime of memories and experiences that would serve him well in the future. Looking to pass his love and knowledge of hockey on to the next generation, Toskos begins his next path, coaching.
Coached with the Rampo Saints, I coached with the North Jersey Avalanche, and then I was here in our building in Wayne coaching with the Bandits. Just to stay involved, I enjoyed coaching. I wanted to give back to a sport that I loved. But the only job I ever would have taken from high school, and I had been offered public school jobs before, was the Bosco job.
In the fall of 2006, Toskos got the call he'd been waiting for. His alma mater was in need of a head coach and a new direction for the program. He accepted the position and embarked on the next phase of his coaching career. As the head coach of a high school hockey program, he was now part of a new type of hockey fraternity.
It's an interesting dynamic, right? Because you've got some coaches that I played against. You have some coaches that we have, fierce on-ice rivalries, but off the ice we get along very well and try to help promote each other's programs and promote each other's players. That's important. And you have some younger coaches that I've actually coached that are now coaching. It is a fraternity. There's no doubt about it, but it is. There are rivalries, and there's no doubt about that too.
Yeah, it's funny because. And you said it right, it is a fraternity. They're a great bunch of guys and a lot of great hockey minds, so that the relationships are great. They're all great guys, and we have a lot of mutual respect for one another, which makes it very enjoyable.
While we're competitive with everyone, and I think all of us have a burning desire to win and do well every night, we do have a healthy respect for one another as well.
Like I said, we talk all the time, text message, email, kind of just feeling each other out a little bit. You form that relationship with one another.
Now having the only coaching job he ever wanted, Toskos is faced with a daunting task, building a new program from the bottom up. The first few seasons were tough ones.
We were not very good. Listen, I'd been a head coach before, so it wasn't like it was my first time being a head coach. There was, we lost some kids that had transferred out, even in September, October, before I'd been named as the coach. So I was behind in trying to market the school and attract some players to come to the school. It was tough. I mean, we were in the Gordon Conference. We suffered some significant losses, and there's just some times where kids are better athletes. And I could come in and yell and scream, and we're losing 7-0, or I can face reality and say, at this point in time, they might have some better athletes than us. So it was kind of a mind game in my own way to get through and then really build the culture that I wanted here. Bring in high-end players, but more than that, character players.
This is going to sound again like revisionist history. There was no doubt in my mind, once he got there, he was going to have a great program.
When you're the head coach of any sport at Don Bosco Prep, winning championships is only your second most important goal. The most important goal is winning the game against your rival. The rival for Don Bosco.
Well, it's Bergen Catholic. Right? It's Bergen Catholic.
I don't think there's a better rivalry in New Jersey sports than Bosco-Bergen.
Obviously, Bosco is superior. That's not my opinion, that's factual.
This is the game everybody's been waiting for.
Every last one of you have sacrificed to be here. This is the game they remember. Bosco-Bergen. Every guy that ever put a uniform on at this school, you represent. If they don't like you, we don't like them. Let's whip their ass.
Hands up, now hands down. Tell me what you gonna do now. Hands up, now hands down. Tell me what you gonna do now. rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Move it, now move out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up, back up. Tell me what you gonna do now. Breathe in, now breathe out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up, back up. Tell me what you gonna do now. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling.
In 2011, the Bergen County Ice Hockey Tournament finally became a reality.
You know, hockey's come a long way. The sport is one of the few sports that's growing every year. And I think it was probably overdue.
We knew it would be the Bosco Invitational, and it has always been the Bosco Invitational.
You know, we've won it every year, which is nice and fantastic for us, but outside of maybe 1 or 2 years, like we've had a million close calls, we've had wars, we've had games and their rivalries, and I think it teaches our guys. Like I tell the guys, like when you walk back into your gym at the school in 20 years and you look up there and you see a Bergen County champion, that says something.
In just their 5th season, Toskos and his staff had started building a winning program. They finished the regular season with 22 wins and went on a postseason run to that year's Gordon Cup final. The loss to Del Barton in their first ever Gordon Cup final was difficult, but everyone agreed a new rivalry was forming. Seeded number 2 in the state tournament, Don Bosco was eyeing a rematch with Del Barton, but were upset by 7th-seeded St. Peter's in the quarterfinals on an empty net goal that was difficult to watch.
The 4th goal was an empty net puck that was on its end and rolled and just magically found its way into our net. You know, I won't even put it on the kids, I'd put it on us, like where we realize we have to make sure that they are ready to go. If you take anybody for granted in the Gordon Conference on any night, you're not gonna walk out of there with a win.
Following the season, 4 different Ironmen players were first-team All-Suburban Hockey, while Toskos pledged next year would be different.
So we know the Kennedy family for a long time, actually. Tommy's older brothers went to Bosco when I was kind of watching them play. And then Tommy is the same age as my brother. So he played on some of the travel teams with my brother growing up. I played with Tommy my sophomore, junior, and senior year at Bosco.
I knew Tommy when he was in 7th grade. His brother George played for me. And Tommy would come around and do the clock during the games. And you talk about someone who early on displayed the characteristics of a good military leader. Tommy was a good defenseman and a really good one. I asked him to play right wing because that's what the team needed. And I knew he didn't want to do it, but his answer was, sure, coach, I'll do it. But he did what the team needed. And I am not surprised that he went on to have a great military career.
Tommy played at West Point, obviously, and Babson, we played West Point a bunch of times in college. So I would see him throughout my years in college. Yeah, I had actually gotten home from work, and Greg McGee is a parent of our current senior captain, Hunter. Greg had called me, and it was an odd reason for him to call me at that time. So I knew something good wasn't coming. I clearly didn't think it was anything like that. And yeah, he delivered the news.
I had spoken to TK's brother, John Kennedy, earlier in the day. Johnny called me later that night and told me that Tommy had been killed. Yeah, so I really just walked in my house.
So when Tommy passed away, the guys that went to school with him, so his grade, which was class of 95, I was class of 94, and the 94 guys, I mean, immediately started doing things. WFAN was incredible. So Boomer and Carton, came. We had Boomer's Ranger tickets offered, for him to go with you to the Ranger game, auctioning off stuff. They came that night, which was incredible. They talked about Tommy on air, which was pretty awesome. I mean, Tommy did so much for this program while he was at West Point. So we went up and visited a couple times as a program, and he gave tours of everything. He really, like when I say tours, took us inside rooms that only, officers are allowed into. The entire team ate in the mess hall, and in the mess hall at West Point, all the cadets eat at the same exact time. And what happens is they have announcements, so they have a big podium, and they've had presidential, presidents speak. They've had military generals speak, but normally their day is they make announcements of things like that. The only announcement they made that whole day was, let's give a big round of applause to the Don Bosco hockey team who's joined us here today. So it was pretty cool. All the cadets got up. They gave us a standing ovation, which was great. And then you saw all these kids come up and say, hey, I played against Bosco. Hey, I went to Bosco. I did this at Bosco. I did it. So it was a really, really awesome experience. It's a tight-knit community with the Bosco world. And look, we wanted to honor him in a very big way, and we continue to do that, each and every day. But that first year we did a lot. We did a game for a few years against Suffern, given that Tommy played at Sportorama, and the Suffern was a good rivalry for us. And Sportorama, they named one of the rinks after him, the Major Thomas Kennedy rink. The first year we put patches on, but now we have jerseys that actually just have TK with us all the time, and it's a subtle little reminder. It fits really well in our jerseys. It's really nice, but they'll always be with us, and he'll always be with us. Making sure that the program's heading the right way. So we created a Major Thomas Kennedy Award, and it's about hustle. It's about the guy that was kind of the toughest in practice to play against, because that's what Tommy was. Like, he was like a scrappy, hard-nosed defenseman.
For us, the TK message was be selfless, be a part of something, be the best you can be.
It means a lot that we can continue that, and we can continue to tell his story so everybody really hears about it. And we just don't want people to forget the impact that he had on the lives.
Playing for TK that season, Don Bosco played inspired hockey, winning their second straight Bergen County Championship and entering the postseason as the number 3 team. The Ironmen would suffer a frustrating loss in the Gordon Cup semifinal, and CBA would go on to defeat Del Barton to win the title. After defeating St. Peter's Prep at St. Joe's Metuchen, Don Bosco found itself in a rematch with CBA. Only now, the Colts were the number 1 team in the state and loaded with talent.
Yeah, I mean, you think about who they had. They've got guys that are in the NHL right now. The Clifton brothers were there playing professional hockey. A couple other guys, Van Riemsdykes, were on the team. At least one of them was on the team at the time.
Sending shockwaves through the state, the Ironmen upended CBA thanks to a surprise performance.
Here's Jimmy Rainey, who's a 4th line guy. We had a couple of injuries. I bumped him to 3rd line center. Scored 2 goals in that game. Talk about a guy that surprised you. That was a big surprise for us. Helped us get to the first state final in 25 years or 20, whatever it was, 20 years.
I love playing in the big games. The championships, the playoffs. You really get up for those. And me personally, who doesn't want to score the goal to, help your team in the playoffs? Just everyone cheering, the bench going crazy. Your brothers in the stands right there, all watching you, all your classmates. Great feeling, one of the best in my hockey career for sure. After the game, they're definitely proud of me. They always believed in me there, and I was just happy that I was able to do it for my team.
We got really great goaltending. Jared Licio was awesome throughout that run, and in the end, I just think that was a team that was a lot more grit and heart than high-end talent. Not that they weren't talented, because they were. We were probably a year or two ahead of our time at that point, but it was more that, it's not our time, but we're gonna make it our time. And that's kind of the feeling that we had with those guys. So for starters, we'd never played in the building before, and Del Barton had, right? Multiple times. So you get in there and you start to learn about how different the glass is, the board is, the ice is, how warm it is, the benches are large. There's so much that's not pure hockey related on ice that we as coaches learned a lot from. Look, we were in the first period 0-0, we had a 5-on-3 and we didn't score. And for me, that was something at that point in time that I really learned, how important it is to kind of work on special teams and really focus hard on those opportunities that you get, especially in big games, that you got to score. Sometimes I take these losses pretty emotional. So I probably didn't have a lot, if I remember correctly, didn't have a lot to say. I was proud of them. We worked as hard as we could, but it wasn't some long sentimental message. It was more just, seniors, we appreciate everything you've done.
And unfortunately, I believe their, careers kind of ended the same way with the loss in that state final in '94. But it's definitely, keep your head up high. It's obviously difficult to listen to, at the time because you're so heartbroken. But, we at that point, we kind of cross over into an alumni. Just like Greg, just like Sean, just like TK. We're all kind of, on the same level now. We'll all do anything for each other. So I think that's kind of what they want to stress to us. But obviously, 18 years old, you just get your heart broke. Looking back on it now, I definitely appreciate the message a lot more. But at the time, you feel like the world's coming down.
The 2013-14 season would have plenty of incredible moments. Toskos took the team to Boston to play top-level competition, and they secured a third straight Bergen County title. And then they gave the players a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
I remember Greg calling me and telling me about the Yankee Stadium thing and being like, "You guys can do that?"
Well, the game at Yankee Stadium, I'll say that's Greg. I remember when they announced it that there was going to be an NHL game at Yankee Stadium. Talking to Greg, and he's like, "We got to find a way. We have to find a way."
You can't beat that kind of experience for a high school athlete.
So as much as we grind out every day trying to win a Bergen County championship, trying to win a Gordon championship, trying to win a state championship, it's nights like those that, I'd say I'm really proud of to be a part of this program because I know how hard he works and the school administration works with us to get those types of things done and give these kids a great experience.
The Gordon Cup playoffs saw the Ironmen seeded number 2. After wins over rivals Bergen Catholic and CBA, only Del Barton stood in the way of the school's first Gordon Cup title.
We hadn't beaten them for a while, but we actually beat them earlier in the year, and we beat them on the road with a freshman goaltender at the time.
The question of who to start in net for the biggest game of the season was a much tougher choice than he ever expected.
A lot of people had questioned me starting Jared, to be honest. He was the senior, and he had struggled against Del Barton.
The first time we had, when Alexei played, we had beat him. And it's like, okay, Alexei got the start, everybody's thinking that.
Toskos chooses senior Jared Licio for the starting goal, and the Ironmen prepare for an epic showdown.
That was awesome. Yeah, it was a great game. It was an exciting hockey game just in general, back and forth, back and forth.
Licio's playing goal rallies the Ironmen, who take a 2-1 lead in the third period on Cody Calcagno's power play tally. Del Barton rallies to tie it in the third period, sending the game to overtime and setting the stage for a dramatic finish.
I vividly remember the goal. It was great. He made a great play behind the net, passed in front. Griffin Welsh was there, almost like fanned on the shot and kind of had a double clutch and then pumped one home. People say, oh, you finally got the Del Barton monkey off your back because, we hadn't beaten them.
I can guarantee you this. I never once sat there in the middle of a Bosco Del Barton game and said, we got to get the monkey off our back. You just got to play better than them. You got to execute the right way.
Playoff games just go the way they go, right? They're so tight. They're 1-goal games. We've been fortunate to win some. We've been unlucky to lose some. But that game, I remember the overtime goal. I really remember how proud I was of Jared Licio, but he deserved that start. He earned the right to have that start. I felt really confident in him, and he won the game. We won the game.
Winning the Gordon Cup marks a turning point in their rivalry with Del Barton. What was once one-sided is now even.
Look, our games are just so close and physical and strong and emotional and happy to be on the right side of some of those.
Unable to capitalize on the momentum of the Gordon Cup win, the Ironmen are eliminated in the quarterfinals of the state tournament.
St. Augustine's always played us well. They've always been a top Gordon Conference team.
We just caught them on the right day. We were fresh. We had guys that were hungry.
So they probably, maybe at the time my eyes where they were a better team than that.
Following the game, Toskos was critical of the seeding process, stating that the seeding committee needs to be revamped.
I remember we had a conversation when the seedings came out, and he goes, "No way, you're a 7."
Probably less of a commentary about the seeding, more of just how good they played against us that game. And we were drained too. Look, we'd come off the Del Barton win, and our guys had played a lot. They played a lot of club hockey. I think we were probably a little tired and not as focused during that loss.
The early state tournament loss only reinforced the challenging goals Toskos sets for his program.
I think every team sets the same goal. Like, we set the same goal: county, league, state. But often, if you look back, you're playing the same teams twice in 2 weeks, and they're darn good teams. And it's hard to go through that gauntlet twice. And if you look, not many people have done it.
The 2014-2015 season saw more disappointment for the Ironmen. Despite winning their 4th straight Bergen County title, they would suffer a loss to Bergen Catholic in the Gordon Cup playoffs. They then ran into a hot goaltender in suffering a major upset to St. Joe's Montvale in the first round of the state tournament.
Oh, the kid made like 50 saves or something fantastic. Played outstanding.
To this day, Toskos believes the game was about more than just hot goaltending.
To me, it depends on what's happening. And it depends on the types of shots you're getting. And if the goalie's making unbelievable saves, or if you're putting a lot of pucks at him. And I think in the Joe's game, as good as the goalie played, I don't think we were getting quality scoring chances. I think, their coaches put a strong defensive system in. They blocked a lot of shots. They clogged the middle. So I don't think we were able to get a lot to the net then.
That was probably one of the most frustrating years, I think, because we did have such a good group of kids, and you kind of didn't expect it.
It was tough for us. I got to, again, getting knocked out in the round of 16 is really tough for us. And losing to Bergen anytime is not something that we like to do at Don Bosco. I just think it was a combination of rebuilding our talent a little bit. We were senior heavy the year before. We had some great players on that team. Don't get me wrong. With some fantastic kids and great players, and we were good. but we were maybe seated a little higher than we probably should have been.
I think from there that kind of hit a reset button, at least for me. The way my mindset worked is you can't walk into any, I used to maybe think, hey, if we can play these guys, it's an easier road than playing these guys. I kind of don't care anymore. You got to play them all, so you might as well just play the right way.
Heading into the new season, the Ironmen were hearing whispers that their dominance in Bergen County was coming to an end. But Toskos was always reloading his program with new talent. Budding superstar Mickey Burns' overtime goal sent the Ironmen back to the county final for the 5th straight year. After defeating Ramsey for the title, they were now ready for the league and state playoffs. The Ironmen suffered another semifinal defeat at the hands of CBA, this time on home ice. They rebounded with convincing wins in the first 2 rounds of the state tournament, setting up a semifinal rematch with CBA.
Game was at Menin. We had, we no longer do, but at the time we had the Menin curse where every playoff game back when CBA beat us in the finals was at Menin. And that game was tough because it was a tough goal given how well we had played. Even in overtime, we had some great chances in overtime. The goal came from kind of behind the goal line, your typical overtime fluky type goal.
The heartbreaking loss to CBA at Menin brought 2 thoughts to Toskos' mind: the difficulties of winning and the memories of the past.
I remember them sitting there and the text messages I was getting from those guys that night saying, it's not happening again, coach. Like we are going to make it to the finals. It's not happening again. So I knew that, first of all, the kids were great kids. Second of all, the determination they had was going to get us back. It was upsetting. I felt we had a team that could do really well there. But then we rolled into the next year. You look at our senior leadership, CJ McGee, Ryan McClinsky. I mean, we had some really good, Alexei Masenko in goal. Like, we had some solid leadership as seniors that we knew were ready to lead us.
That season saw Pope John enter the mix as an unexpected contender. The Lions were led by the most dynamic player in the state, who was splitting his time between Pope John and the USHL, the premier junior league in the country.
But 17, it was a special year for us. John Spetz, who was just a tremendous player himself.
It was interesting. They almost ran like a 2-3. 2 forwards and 3 defensemen. Actually, not almost did, they did. And it was kind of a style of play where they just wanted to hang around, and then maybe let one of their talented forwards playing kind of D or their goaltender just steal the game. And their goaltender was outstanding.
We had an outstanding goaltender in Matt Shore, who was the 2-time first-team All-State selection.
Yeah, he stole a couple games from us, for sure.
Bolstered by the play of Shore and Spetz, the Lions finished the regular season without a loss. In the Gordon Cup semifinal, the Ironmen suffered a tough loss to Pope John in overtime, with Shore's brilliance the difference in victory.
Very tough loss. I mean, we expected more. We poured 55 shots on their goaltender. He was simply outstanding, but we ended up having a rematch relatively quickly after that. Yeah, I think it was 5-0 if I remember correctly, and we pumped some pucks in early, which always helps. Like if you get the first one and you're not sitting around waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it, your confidence is pretty high, and I think our confidence was real high after that.
The shutout win over Pope John would send the Ironmen to their third state final appearance, but it would not be the last time they had to contend with Matt Shore.
Tonight from the Menin Arena in Morris Township, New Jersey, it's the 2017 state championship game.
It's disappointing for the kids. At the same time, it's a pretty cool atmosphere being in Menin, sold out, packed house. Everybody wanted to see the Rocky and Drago fight, so to speak. Great hockey game. Honestly, great hockey game. We scored early. We had a chance quickly after that and just missed a post. 2-0 lead for us might be a lot different. They got a nice goal in the second period. I think they scored 2 actually in the second period. We just couldn't get the one in the third. We tried. I mean, it was tough. We were trying to go low to high off a face-off, and the boards almost like had a trampoline. The puck bounced off the boards at Menin, came right back in the middle of the ice, and their guy was breaking off the face-off to get out to the point and had a breakaway and scored. Just if we had kept that puck low, who knows? Maybe they score, maybe we score. You don't know. It's definitely a game-changing moment. It definitely deflated us a little bit for sure. Just kind of the wacky way that it happened. I mean, it was our guy that kind of threw it off the boards. It wasn't like they made the play. Their guy had unbelievable speed. He just came flying up the middle and picked up the puck. So it definitely deflated us a little bit for a part of that. We pushed. I mean, we made a run, and I just talk about staying focused, staying in the structure that we had because it was working. We didn't need to open it up and then maybe allow them another goal somewhere here or there. And like I said, that was a great hockey game. That was a pure toss-up. They got the goal, we didn't. I'm okay with that.
Despite another tough loss to Del Barton in the final, Toskos had a returning roster of talent that made him believe the 2017-2018 season would finally be the one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the year before would have been big too with the guys I mentioned, CJ and Ryan and Swiss and a couple other guys. But yeah, this year we thought that was going to be the year for sure.
Yeah, we knew we had a good group. Our senior class was really tight. A lot of us grew up together and grew up playing together. Everyone kind of had that fire under them, and we knew we were looking to have a good year. Guys were excited.
You look at some of the teams that we beat. We went up in Massachusetts and beat the teams up there, which is really tough to do. You're on the road. You're a Jersey team playing in their home state and college hockey rink, so it's not easy. We'd lost for a bunch of years in a row. BC High, defending state champ, great program. We beat them. We beat Catholic Memorial, which is great. We played in the Princeton Day tournament in an awesome, it was us, Princeton Day, Worcester Academy, and Albany Academy, like 4 great schools. Mickey Burns scored late against PDS, who they had some Division I guys, and a great hockey game back and forth. Maybe the best game of the year, to be honest with you.
Shot a text to Coach Toskos and Coach Foy, like, hey, remember you guys played at Yankee Stadium a couple years ago? Citi Field's got a game going outdoors this year, just throwing it out there, and they took it and ran with it.
Played at Citi Field. I mean, what an experience for those guys. We played the Hun School. We were the only programs, of the two of us, to play at Citi Field, and that was super special.
And that's just a testament to who they are. They're looking to make the kids happy. They looked for the betterment of the program, and they did just that.
And I also think it also feeds into how do I get these talented players to want to play for me, enjoy playing for me? One of the ways I can do that is to give them these unique experiences, to go to Boston, to play at Yankee Stadium, to play at Citi Field.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. Come on. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. He doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard, whether it's the beat of the mic. He feels so unlike everybody else, alone, in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know, but no, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about reality and making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That means when he puts it down, Tox picking it up. Let's go.
Who the hell is he anyway? He never really talks much, never concerned with status, but still leaving him starstruck. Humble through opportunities given despite the fact that many misjudge him because he makes a living from writing raps. Put it together himself, now the picture connects. Never asking for someone's help or to get some respect. He's only focused on what he wrote. His will is beyond reach, and now it all unfolds. The skill of an artist. This is 20% skill, 80% fear, be 100% clear. Cause Ryu was ill. Who would have thought he'd be the one that set the West in flames? And I heard him wreck it with the crystal method, name of the game. Came back, dropped Megadeth, took him to church. I like Bleach, man. Ryu had the stupidest verse. This dude is the truth. Now everybody giving them guest spots and stocks through the roof. I heard he f***ing with that stock.
This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50%.
So like you go through piece by piece, and every moment that we had was pretty darn good up until
Entering the Gordon Cup playoffs as the #1 seed, they faced a surprising challenge from St. Augustine in the semifinal. Trailing late in the third period, Bosco ties it on a deflection, sending it to overtime.
Those guys in the locker room, there was no panic, no sweat. We got a whole bunch of the Gatorade gummies that they have, Gatorade in them, and a little bit to just keep everything going. And there was not 1 ounce of panic. In fact, can't remember exactly, but I don't think we had to say too much to them at all. Went out there, puck was in the back of the net, and that was it.
Like anybody else, you put your best 5 out there to start the overtime. And I told my guys, make sure you lock up off the faceoff. And sure enough, our left wing didn't lock. Their left winger blows through him, center beats our guy up ice, and the next thing you know, I don't even know if everybody got to sit on the bench yet and the game was over. But, that's what they were. They were a dominant team, and, we played our hardest. We gave them everything we could. We threw everything at them, and, those are the games that when opportunities present themselves, you got to bury it, and every second on the clock matters.
Facing Del Barton in the final, the Ironmen jumped out to a 1-0 lead on Simon Akhtar's goal early in the second period. With both goaltenders playing brilliantly, Bosco maintained a 1-0 lead until Del Barton's tying goal halfway through the third period. For the second time in 5 years, these two teams would play overtime for the title. Despite the end to their undefeated season, Toskos believed his team had outplayed their opponent.
It was a definite sting because I thought we really outplayed them in that game and had some really good scoring chances and had a little bit of tough luck with a couple of plays that happened. We had a goal waved off and a couple other plays there. So
we had beaten them twice already that year. That was game number 3. In the locker room, it was we're going to get them in the finals.
Despite the prospect of an undefeated season now gone, Toskos knows that the pressure still looms.
And there is some element of pressure to it. Now, as coaching staff, we didn't feel any pressure, right? We felt fine because we knew we had the horses to do what we had to do. But I think players can feel it a little bit for sure. And really that in the state quarterfinal, the Pope John game, boy, there was a lot of pressure.
There's no pressure on us at that point. The pressure is all on them. We're the higher seed. We're not supposed to beat them. My goaltender had a game for the ages that night.
2. And they scored just off a face-off. It was just kind of a shot, face-off win and a shot, and that was it. Five minutes left in the game, and shots must have been 60 to 7. I just remember walking over to Sean, to Coach Foy, and saying, I can't believe we're going to lose like this.
And, he might have said that to me, but I don't think he showed 1 ounce of that to them. They believed they were going to win.
And he looked at me, and I was like, you're right. And it was like, we're not going to lose. The message never changed. I mean, literally the message didn't change. I love the scoring chances. It's gonna come. You just keep shooting pucks. One of them's gonna go in. He's not gonna stop 100. Pretty goal. I mean, it's passed from behind the net and TJ came in and ripped it 5 holes straight. Yeah, we're back. Like, we're back. It's more of a settle down. We gotta win. That was the scare, but it still had to go almost 15 full minutes. I knew he wanted to get to the shootout. From the second they scored their goal, he was saying, that's it, we're shutting down. Just stand 4 guys at the far blue line, 1 guy forecheck and figure it out. You know, I'm confident in our goaltender. Clearly they were confident in their goaltender, but I did not want that particular game to go to a shootout. I loved the chances we were getting. I knew we were going to score at some point. We were just getting too many good chances. I mean, hell, we put 79 shots on goal in that game. 81, he had 79 saves. I think we were more thrilled that it was over than thrilled that we won.
Sparked by Mickey Burns' 5-point performance, the Ironmen turned the semifinal contest into no contest. The overwhelming 7-0 victory set up a rematch with Delbarton.
And that was the year that flu B virus was out, and you had teams decimated with illness. We didn't have that problem literally until the week of the Gordon Cup and the 2 weeks in the state playoffs. If you remember, you had to get tested for flu B, and all of a sudden we had guys dropping like flies. So to start, you're scrambling, you're like, oh, you know, how are we gonna get through this? And then you're taking your experience from when we played the first time in the Prudential Center. Remember the boards, remember the glass, remember how hot it was. Those kids didn't play there, but we as coaches did. So we had to adjust the way we coached and remember the things that changed in the arena. So the game plan, some of it changed because of the structure, meaning the facility we're in and things like that. From a player perspective, and we're dropping off Pedialyte medicine the night before state finals. You know, you have your structure, your environment, your game plan, and then you're battling all these other things that are just popping in.
The Green Wave opened the scoring early in the first period, but Don Bosco's Robbie Greenleaf banged home a rebound to tie the game. Strongly outplaying the Green Wave in the second period, Tyler Sedlak's highlight reel goal put Bosco ahead 2-1.
Even with those elements, we still bounced back with the guys sick and with everything, and took a 2-1 lead in the second period. We really played well up until, you know, kind of a questionable call.
They got a bad call.
The ensuing power play led to Delbarton's tying goal and a shift in momentum.
They really got hosed by a referee.
That one was very hard to swallow.
It clearly changed the entire dynamics of the game.
a lot of people took what Toskos said and ran with it, kind of blew it out of proportion. I mean, I know he was upset with the officials at the time. I mean, all the players were, but we weren't trying to use it as an excuse.
So you add up all the things that are taking place, and you look at how we were able to bounce back from the first period, down 1-0, to bounce back up 2-1. We had guys beaten down, guys sick, and all of a sudden they get that momentum swing, and that's the way hockey works.
Midway through the third period, a defensive breakdown leads to Del Barton's go-ahead goal. Great goaltending by Max Schwartz kept it a 1-goal game, but with less than a minute to go, Toskos pulled him for the extra skater. The loss was especially difficult for team captain and leader Mickey Burns, who sat silently on the ice after the game.
I can tell you what he said because I went over and picked him up. And he was like, it wasn't supposed to end this way. And he's right. He's absolutely right.
He just told me to get up. He said, get up, keep your head up. Just, give me a pat on the chest. But, once again, just a testament to the type of guy and coach that he is.
I feel awful for those seniors that have been there for 4, 3, 2, 1 year, whatever it was. I feel awful that particular game ended the way it did.
There were years when he was like, they're just better than us. And there were years when he'd be like, we just didn't play good, didn't play well. And then there were a couple of times when it was like, we had him, we should have won. He never lost confidence that they were going to do it one day. It was just a matter of time.
My concern was a little bit on the leadership part, less on the talent part, because you look and you had TJ and you had Liam and you had Tyler coming back and Schwartzy in goal. Like, we knew we were going to be pretty good. I didn't know if we were going to win, to be honest. Once we lost that CBA game on the road, I mean, it was game 4 or 5, something like that, and we dominated that game. I mean, we shot good 43 pucks, and I think we lost 3-2. That's actually a good loss. You don't say that a lot, but that was a good loss for it. You kind of started to see the train roll a little bit. That BC High game was a really impressive win for this group, and then that's kind of when I realized, like, maybe we can do this again.
Outside of a 3-2 loss, we just rolled everybody, and it was fun. It really was. It was great.
This night alright, and turn the bass up, blow my eardrums up, just like a fire truck. Get this night alright, and turn the bass up, yeah, I like it loud, I like it loud. You know I like it loud. Can't hear a f***ing sound. My ears are ringing now, 'cause that's how we get down. Now move your body so the rhythm can set you free. Another round and we can drown out our hearts beating. Just like a drug, I let the music set me free. I like it loud, I like it loud. this night alright and turn the bass up. Blow my eardrums up, just like a fire truck. Get this night alright and turn the bass up. Yeah, I like it loud, I like it loud. Shaking through your legs, the way the sun drops. Feel it in your chest, the way your heart stops. Get this night alright and turn the bass up. Yeah, I like it loud, I like it loud. Now move your body so the rhythm can set you free. Another round and we can drown out our hearts beating. Just like a drug, I let the music set me free. I like it loud, I like it loud. I like it loud, I like it loud. You know I like it loud. Can't hear a fucking sound. My ears are ringing loud. 'Cause that's how we get down. I know you need it, do you feel it? Drink the water, drink the wine. Oh, we gotta turn off the crazy. Live it like a washed up celebrity. Shooting fireworks like it's the 4th of July. Until we feel alright. Until we feel alright.
The first 2 rounds of the Gordon Cup saw the Ironmen win convincingly over St. Peter's Prep and Gloucester Catholic. With the Gordon Cup Championship scheduled for that Friday at 8 p.m., Don Bosco will have to win their second ever title without their coach.
My older boy was fortunate to make this Quebec Pee Wee team, which is the most prestigious tournament really in all of youth hockey, and it's only 1 year. You can only go 1 year, right? It's his Pee Wee major year. So as this is starting to line up, I'm like, I got a problem. And then when their schedule came out for the tournament, they had the very first game in the NHL rink that they built up there at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I knew the Gordon Conference was 7 o'clock Friday night. I mean, I was like, do I ask a parent who has a private jet to fly me back?
With Toskos north of the border, his lifelong best friend was left to man the ship.
I left that program in Sean Foy's extremely capable hands, and Andrew Steffi and Brandon Vigorito, my staff. To me, as important of a game as it was, I was really more excited to be there for my son and for everybody because of what that tournament meant. Now, that night, we sat in a restaurant and I was getting updates and updates and updates. And then our JV coach, Rob Marrera, just was like, all right, enough. And he just put it on FaceTime. And I was watching the game in the restaurant.
You remember where you came from. You remember what it took to get you here. And you remember what he did to you last time, right? Now it's your turn. It's your turn, huh?
And I would say this, at no point during that game, even when they scored the third goal, did I even think there was a chance we were going to lose. You could see we were outplaying them. We were doing it the right way. It was just a matter of when, we had a game plan. The most important thing was when we did get down 3-1 to not get away from it.
I was just more excited that we won and the way that we did it. Nobody comes from behind on Del Barton, especially in the third period of a championship game. It doesn't happen, and we did.
Despite not actually being in the arena that night, Toskos was able to use technology to enjoy the moment.
Well, I was there to share the moment. I hate to say it. We were on FaceTime. It's a little different, don't get me wrong. But I was able to, feel like I hugged a couple guys.
Would it have been great if he was there? Yeah, but we're a family program. If you come into our locker room, my son's there, Greg's sons are there running around. He had an opportunity to do something that was amazingly special with his family. So for us, it was, how do we help support him?
After rolling over Seton Hall by a 5-0 score, Don Bosco would face Gloucester Catholic in the semifinal, a team they beat by 10 goals just 2 weeks earlier. But this would be a very different game, as Rams star player Dom Garazzo scored early, and the Ironmen struggled to find their game.
Look, we'd played Gloucester a couple times. They're a physical team. South Jersey like to, play a little on the edge, which when we're in this case last year a little more skilled team, can definitely affect the way you play. Again, in that one, I didn't necessarily like the opportunities we had early, so I think we needed to make some adjustments, which we did. We got the goal to tie it up, and then that kind of settled things down again, and momentum swung back our way.
With a berth in the state final now secure, Toskos is unsure if his opponent will be who he expected.
You're not sure. I gotta be honest, you're not sure. You think it's probably gonna be them. Bergen had a great run. They were an unexpected semifinalist. Maybe their goalie steals a game. It's happened before, right? We talked about that. But in the end, you kind of knew it was gonna come.
Did you think it was going to happen?
So throughout the year, right, we have the same thing almost like the year before where we were undefeated. We only had one loss, but similar type of moment. The difference was this team was like the loosest team out there. You know, I had what I thought was a pretty good pregame speech at Menin 2 years before. Well, it was a pretty good pregame speech last year. And then, you know, I was thinking about what do I want to say to these guys? I said to myself, like, all right, I put some notes down. I walked into the room, and it's 10 minutes before the puck drops in the state championship game, and I got literally two guys breakdancing, one of which is my 5-year-old son with a player on our team, and they're having a little dance-off in the locker room. And I was like...
He was gonna come in and pump us up, and he saw the locker room, how it was all like loose and stuff, and he was like, all right, like, I like it, like... just roll with this.
They were just relaxed. They kind of had the mojo, and they knew that it was their time.
The past is the past, you know? It's a new day, bro. I'ma put it on my day. Gotta do it now.
Well, this is, of course, one of the great rivalries in high school hockey. The third straight year these two teams will have played for the state championship.
And we are underway in the non-public finals. And open to the point. Here's a shot. The wrister doesn't get through. Cleaves blocks it home, and a score! Back to Maserati, takes the shot and scores! Off the beautiful give and go assist from James Falavine. And we have ourselves a brand new hockey game.
He was actually, I remember him saying on the bench the whole time, no panic, no panic.
The Ironmen didn't panic because Toskos knew he had his own secret weapon against Del Barton.
If you look at Liam's career, I've said this a few times, like Liam was like the Del Barton killer, right? He hit the first goal of the game for us. He just had a knack to win, to beat them, right? He just had that knack to score a goal, score multiple goals, make multiple plays, whatever it was.
Now can Bosco respond right back, and they do! Shoots and scores! Liam McClinsky!
Come right back down and, you know, close the door right there. It was pretty darn impressive, pretty cool to see.
Don Bosco prep, 15 minutes away from glory.
This third period is going to be, you know, 1 versus 2, no outside influence, nothing going on, just a great opportunity for us to win or for us to do our best to win.
We are underway, the start of the third period of action.
For the third period, Toskos does make one rare change to his game plan.
It was the only game in the only game all year, but only in the third period where I actually had McClinsky, McGee, and Sedlak on the ice every other shift, and TJ on the ice every other shift. That was it. It was like, I looked at him like, I'm going to burn you out. I mean, I've saved you for this. Now it's time to burn you for the last, 15 minutes. Yeah, all of a sudden it was like, it got down to 5 minutes really quick, and the bench was alive and moving lines. And
Bosco towards the empty nets, hits the post. Hope is still alive for Del Barton.
With an extra skater on and Del Barton pressing to tie, Don Bosco goalie Max Schwartz takes matters into his own hands.
Now Schwartz trying to take a shot himself, loose in front, he falls down. Bosco still trying to clear it out of its own end.
Moments later, one of the horses Toskos is burning out sees his chance.
Going through, Don Bosco, empty net finish! Tyler Sedlak.
The man who was once the captain of the Ironmen hockey team and was now their coach had been on a 25-year mission for this exact moment. That moment came as he stood on the bench in the state final to watch his current captain break free for the empty net and end a quarter century of heartache.
It's pretty cool.
And after waiting for so many years, dating back to 1994 when Bosco first made their appearance in the state final, they are 11.8 seconds away from climbing the mountain finally. But after years of hustle, after years of complete dominance in the regular season, and even this year in the Gordon Cup playoffs, a team that has gone 84-2 over the last 3 seasons will finally be able to claim the mantra and the title of New Jersey's best. As time will run out here in the hockey season in New Jersey, and the #1 team in the Garden State are the Don Bosco Prep Ironmen.
It was awesome. I mean, just like relief, but excitement at the same time. Couldn't be more proud of the kids on the ice and the accomplishments they had and they made.
I'm probably the only one that knows exactly how much Greg puts into this. And everybody thinks you show up on Sunday nights, you play a game, and you do this, and jerseys get ordered. He does more than anybody will ever know. To see him, to see Andrew step, Drew was the first one out there. To see him running, Viggy, to see the captains there, knowing they're the first ones to do something, it was special, you know. I got choked up, not gonna lie.
This team goes down as the best team in the history of this program. It's the most special thing I've been a part of outside of my kids and my wife and everybody. This is just simply incredible.
When's it gonna sink in? On the bus ride home?
It sinks in right now. I'm feeling it pretty good right now. The history of this whole thing has finally culminated into what we've all tried to do, and we've done it.
This program's been around 54 years, guys. 54 years. We've never had this experience. It's one of the greatest feelings of my life, and I know all the guys in this room, and all the people in the stands, and all the text messages I'm getting. You don't understand how much this means to guys that have played in this program. And 20 years from now, when we win 3 and 4 and 5 more of these, you guys are the first to ever do it.
Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nobody gonna slow me down. No, I got to keep on moving. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. I'm running and I won't touch ground. No, I got to keep on moving. she said, ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nobody gonna slow me down. No, I got to keep on moving. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. I'm running and I won't touch ground. No, I got to keep on moving. Oh, oh, oh. I got to keep on moving.
Take a look past our innocence. Take a step back to yesterday. When life would move slower, we would never grow up. All we knew that love was for when we're older. Anything could happen, secretly imagine. They could never tear us apart, too young to fall. This is our story that we can take back someday. Our lonely glory that we could get back, they say. This is our story that we can take back someday. Our hope and glory that we can take back someday. Do you feel the same when I'm away from you? Do you know the line that I'd walk for you? We could turn around or we could give it up, but we'll take what comes, take what comes.
The support that I've gotten over the years from Brian Mackley, our athletic director, and Marcin Zork, who was our trainer, is now our athletic director. The support those guys do, and Bob Fazio and Father Jim Huser, like just about, again, the culture and bringing and letting me do certain things to add to the culture. Non-hockey is really, again, what that school's about. But it's the brotherhood and the people that you sit in the classes with, and the campus, and the fact that you get to walk and it's 35 acres, and you go up top for football games and over here for baseball games, and in intra-class you're outside and you get to breathe fresh air. That part of the culture of that school is significant, and the relationships that you build because of all that is what I'll cherish forever, and I cherish it to this day. The messages I consistently deliver is 10 years from now, when you walk into the gym at school and you bring your future, wife or fiance or kids, when I would bring my sons into the gym, I'd say, hey, Dad won that one, right? Think about that and the impact that you can have, and then how proud you'll be to show, whether it's your kids or someone else, some of the stuff that you've won. I kind of think that's the message delivered for these guys. The biggest thing is that when these seniors graduate year after year, I look them in the eyes and I say, you're an alum, I'm an alum, now we're here for each other no matter what. And Coach Foy likes to say it's a lifetime membership, and we're here together, so. See, some things never change, right? And the brotherhood that I had there is the same brotherhood that these kids are experiencing now.
There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over. Blood is running, heart is pumping as the battle gets closer. They can say what they want now, 'cause we'll be screaming now.